Welcome back, RC Amigos. Today we wrap up the Halo Wrap series. Well, first let's bust into this Element Knightrunner from Team Associated. So I got the body, I built the kit, not the Knightrunner kit, but the builder's kit. I got the body, and the first thing I noticed was this body comes with so many stickers and parts and pieces. I don't know if I've ever put together a multi-part. Well, actually, I take that back. I put together one Knightrunner body before, but this body has a lot of parts to it, which is awesome. It's a two-piece, a bed and a cab. Comes with all the stickers and the mask, all that kind of stuff. It looks really good. I really like it. So the first step I do is I actually cut down the wrap pieces to manageable sizes. So a size that I can work with and kind of, hold up to the body panel. So I did that off camera. And basically I want this piece to come out, somewhat fit, and I want to make sure that it fits, and that way I know where I have to cheat, where I don't have to cheat. This seems like it lines up really well, so I was really pleased with that. I'm going to actually end up trimming this out before I put the wrap on, but I just wanted to make sure that we were close to what we could use it for. So here's the top piece, and here's the side of the bed. Now on these round parts, it's a little bit more, or the fenders, it's a little bit more tricky because you got to kind of see where you want things to line up. You got to make sure that the lettering stays right where you want it, all that kind of good stuff. So this top piece, the roof piece, actually came out way better than I anticipated. It was kind of one of those tough pieces that I didn't want to make it too big, but it goes right to the edge of the window, and it's going to be a little challenging because it wraps kind of hard. The hood, that's going to be a challenge. This is going to be tough because it kind of goes so many compound corners and so many curves, and I want to make sure the logo is perfectly in the center. So this is going to be tricky, but we have some tricks for it. So the side piece, I think it ended up being a little undersized for what I wanted it to. In print and in design and all that, we say we want more bleed, which means it goes over the cut lines. And this wasn't quite enough that I wanted, but I've got some tricks for that too, but we'll see if we can kind of patch some parts in and see if we can, make some adjustments. So off camera, I went ahead and painted the body base color. I painted it a green. I just wanted it to be in the same kind of color family as the print. I masked up the windows with the provided mask and the headlights, all that kind of stuff, and got it all one color. So one thing that's nice about this vinyl is that it's pressure sensitive. So that means when you put it on the part, unless you actually put a lot of pressure to it, it's not going to fully stick. So you can kind of set it in place and then peel it back and then put it back in place. You just basically need to kind of play with it until it's perfectly in just the right place. So I kind of fiddled with it for a little bit, and finally I got it to a point where I was like kind of happy with it. And once it's in that happy place, then what you want to do is you want to firmly put pressure on where you're starting to wrap from. And when you do that, then there's a certain method that I use once you start the actual wrap process. So here, the way I decided I'm going to do it is I'm going to start top down. So I'm starting at the top of the bed rails, and I'm going to start working my way down the fender. When you're applying vinyl, you always want to start at one end, or top or bottom. If you work left to right, you want to work from the middle out, meaning start in the center line and kind of work your way to the top and bottom of that. If you want to work top to bottom, same thing. This convex shape is a good piece, a good practice piece to kind of, understand how the whole truck's going to be. But the biggest tip I can say is don't get ahead of yourself. Just take your time, lay it down, and go from there. So you can see here I started to kind of get to a point where I needed the vinyl to stretch. And so what you want to do with this vinyl is just apply a little bit of heat. So I use the heat from a lighter. Now you don't want to use like a propane torch or a butane torch for something like this, because it'll be too hot for the Lexan and it might melt the Lexan. You basically just want to get, or a heat gun maybe, but be very careful, move around really fast. You basically just want to get the vinyl kind of soft and malleable so you can move it into all the crevices. The vinyl stretchy, it works really well with heat. You just want to make sure that you're not burning into the Lexan too much. And another good tip is just to work fast with the heat. So just move your heat around really fast. Hey, if you like this kind of thing, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you aren't new to here, thanks for coming back, and I'll continue to do this kind of stuff. So one of the things I use a lot in these creases and crevices is my squeegee tool. Now you got to be careful, because some people will tell you can use like a credit card or something like that. The credit cards work okay for flat surfaces, but when you're trying to get into these little crevices, they're a little too sharp and they might tear your vinyl. So you want to make sure you have something that's soft but still kind of has an edge to it. Pencil eraser will work, that kind of thing, just so it'll help work its way into the corners without stretching it too much and cracking it. But these squeegees are awesome. Once we get to the edge of the panel, what I like to do is I like to trim it back a little bit before I totally put the pressure down to the edge. Basically what this does, it just kind of relieves the vinyl a little bit, so you can heat the edge of the vinyl and get it to stick really well to the end of the seam, and it kind of gets all the excess out of your way. On parts like this at the front of the bed, you're going to want to continue your wrap around the leading curve of it, just so it makes the print look continuous, like an actual real car or real wrap. That way you're selling it a little bit more and people might actually think it might be paint. But if you cut it right at the body line, odds are you're going to see a paint seam, and that won't be as believable. And also it's just kind of really not the best finish for it. keep in mind too is it's okay to overlap your seams on the next panel. I think a lot of people want to make their seams perfectly butt up to each other, but that's not realistic, let's be honest. So if you overlap your seams, it's okay. Odds are people aren't even going to see it, and it just it's going to make life a lot easier. So on this back piece, I'm going to put it on, and it'll wrap around to the next piece, and people won't even notice it or anything like that. So now that we got the basics down, why don't we get to work and finish this wrap, and I'll check in just a few minutes. Oh yeah, and I printed this little 3D machine gun 3D print from an actual warthog. I mounted it with magnets, so if things got kind of crazy, we could just take it off and put it in our pocket and we wouldn't have to worry about it. But it's a pretty neat little detail that we're going to add. We're going to add some more details to this over time, but stay tuned for some lights and things like that. So overall, this is my first 10th scale full wrap, and I'm actually really happy with it. I learned a lot. I hope you guys did too. And as always, thanks again, amigos. Until next time, remember, say no to drugs, but say yes to tacos.